A few months ago, I uploaded 2 separate videos. The first was every remaining shiny locked Pokemon as of post-Pokemon Day 2025, and the second was every obtainable shiny Pokemon you can't get with your own original trainer name. Since then, however, the number of Pokemon that are shiny locked under any circumstances has decreased, while the number of shiny Pokemon you can obtain, but not with your own original trainer name, has increased. This video you're watching here will be a combination of both of those 2 videos, so you can have all the current up-to-date shiny Pokemon information in one source. Now, since Pokemon Day 2025, we've seen the shiny locks removed from several different Pokemon. Most recently, at the time of making this video, was the release of Shiny Koraidon and Shiny Miraidon in Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet. And to clarify, when I say shiny lock removed, I mean it in the sense that a Pokemon prior to the lock being removed was never obtainable under any circumstances as a shiny during regular gameplay or through an event distribution in any Pokemon game. In the case of Koraidon and Miraidon, yes, the ones you catch in-game are shiny locked and can never be caught as a shiny, but the Pokemon themselves are no longer shiny locked under any circumstance due to the shiny versions of them now being available. Now, with that out of the way, let's start off with the current list of every remaining shiny locked Pokemon as of October 2025, not including Pokemon Legends ZA. Let's start the list of shiny locked Pokemon with none other than Victini. Victini is now the only Gen 5 Pokemon that still has a shiny lock, thanks to the Shiny Meloetta and Shiny Keldeo home dex completion rewards, as well as the previous Japanese Shiny Genesect event of 2013. While it's still possible even today to catch your own OT Victini from Liberty Island in the original Pokemon Black and White games using the DNS Wi-Fi exploit, that is where the shiny locking of Victini began and still remains. If you want to learn more about the DNS Wi-Fi exploit and how you can get your own Victini right now on a DS or a phone emulator and transfer it into home, then check out my video explaining how here. Will we see the lock removed before the end of this decade? We'll have to wait and see. Next up, if you want to be technical, is Ash Greninja. Now, there are 2 types of Greninja. One is your regular standard Greninja, and the other is a Greninja with the ability Battle Bond, which in Gen 7 allows it to transform into Ash Greninja when it knocks out an opponent, but the battle isn't over yet. Now, you were able to get the Battle Bond Greninja by completing the Pokemon Sun and Moon demo on the 3DS, but sadly, it was shiny locked. Now, with Legend ZA introducing Mega Greninja, but not including Pokemon abilities, therefore no Battle Bond, we might be waiting a little bit longer before this lock is removed, but I hope I'm wrong. Another Kalos Pokemon is Pokeball Pattern Vivillon, which has not been catchable in any game at the making of this video, and has only ever had a non-shiny distribution. Now, this used to be true for Fancy Pattern Vivillon before that lock was removed, with it being catchable in Scarlet and Violet, so let's hope, and this sentence might age like milk, that we can catch Pokeball Pattern Vivillon in Legends ZA, and finally plug that gap in the dex. Now, sticking with Gen 6, we have the Mythicals Hooper and Volcanion, which have never been available as a shiny, despite how amazing they look, by the way. Look at that gold. Unlike the third Gen 6 Mythical, Diancie, which had a brief mainline game shiny event in 2015 in Japan and 2016 in South Korea. Most likely one, both, or if we're lucky, all 3 of these Mythicals will be gifts for completing the ZA home dex, although home connectivity won't be compatible with Legend ZA until 2026. And also, for those who don't know, take note of this warning here when home does become available. Next up is Cosmog and by extension Cosmoem, which, unlike their final forms in Sword and Shield's Dynamax adventures, have never ever been available as a shiny. I honestly can't see any upcoming future event where Game Freak will give these out, so we might have to wait a little while longer before such a time comes. Magearna, also of Gen 7, is an odd one because it has 2 boxable forms, its regular form and its original color form. Regular non-shiny Magearna you can still get by scanning a specific QR code in Ultra Sun or Ultra Moon once completing the game, while non-shiny original color Magearna you can obtain once per home account by completing the National Pokedex in home up to Eternatus. Again, being a Gen 7 Pokemon like Cosmog, we likely won't see Magearna obtainable as a shiny for a while, but again, I hope to be proven wrong. Marshadow is the only other shiny locked Gen 7 Mythical, which we likely won't see shiny for a while. Also, this has to be the worst shiny of all time when it's standing still, but look at it when it attacks. How good is the difference? I really want this as a shiny. Please, Game Freak. Moving on. Again, if we're being technical, Gigantamax Melmetal cannot be shiny under any circumstances at the time of this recording. The Melmetals you can transfer from Pokemon Go can't be given the G-Max factor at all in Sword and Shield. The Max Soup simply won't work. We've had the non-shiny G-Max distribution a few years ago, so maybe one day we'll get the shiny version. Looking at you, Shiny Home Meltan. In terms of Gen 8, the Kubfu you get given in the Sword and Shield Isle of Armor DLC can never be shiny, as well as the Kubfu you can catch in Scarlet and Violet, thus making shiny Urshifu unobtainable also also. I had high hopes for shiny hunting this in Scarlet and Violet, but sadly, it was not to be. The same can also be said for Glacier and Spectria, which can be caught in both Gen 8 and Gen 9, but are also sadly both shiny locked, as is the Calyrex you can catch in Sword and Shield's Crown Tundra DLC. Finally, for Gen 8 is Zarude, which saw both its regular form and its Dada form given out during Sword and Shield's main run. I was hoping the shiny versions would have been given out as a home dex reward alongside shiny Keldeo, but sadly it wasn't to be. Again, I think this is another Pokemon we'll likely have to wait a little while longer for before we're able to get it as a shiny. Now, Gen 9 in my video earlier in the year had 20 shiny locks, but since then that number has now dropped to 13. The 7 Pokemon that had their locks removed were Roaming Form Gimmighoul, which could be caught as a shiny in July 2025 as part of Pokemon Go's 9th anniversary. You could shiny hunt the standard Roaming Form Gimmighoul in Go and then transfer it into Pokemon Home, and you could also shiny hunt a special Gimmighoul holding a 9th anniversary coin. However, this form isn't able to be transferred into Home. The 4 Treasures of Ruin Pokemon also had their shiny locks removed in 2025 when they were given out periodically from late July to late September as part of a Terra Raid event for each Pokemon. And as mentioned earlier, Koraidon and Miraidon also had their locks removed thanks to an in-person event distribution initially beginning in late September 2025 in several countries, which at the time of making this video is still going on right up until the launch of Legends ZA in mid-October. More on these Pokemon in the second half of this video. So thanks to these 7 locks now being removed, the base game of Gen 9 now has every shiny available in some way. In terms of the 13 Gen 9 Pokemon that are still shiny locked, these include Blood Moon Ursaluna, which is only able to be found in Kitakami and is coded to never appear as a shiny. The 6 Paradox Pokemon, which are ancient and future forms of the Gen 2 Legendary Beasts and the Gen 5 Swords of Justice trio respectively. The loyal 3 Pokemon found in Kitakami, their leader Pecharunt, as well as poor lonely Ogapon, and Terrapagus, which is shiny locked in the Area Zero Underdepths. And finally, if you want to feel inclusive, 7 of the 8 obtainable Cap Pikachu are shiny locked, with the Partner Cap Pikachu the only one obtainable technically as a shiny, although it doesn't have a shiny model due to it not originally intended to be shiny. So if we add up every Pokemon that is yet to be freed from the shackles of Shiny Lock Prison, currently at the time of this recording there are 40 shiny locked Pokemon, down from 47 prior to July 2025. Watch that number increase again once Gen 10 is released. Now, due to these new shinies, minus Gimmighoul, being released in the way that they have, it has sadly added to the number of shiny Pokemon you can obtain, but not with your name as the original trainer name. Which brings us to the second part of this video, the list of all possible shiny Pokemon you can't get with your name as the original trainer. As was the case in my previous video, this list will only include Pokemon from mainline games. I personally count Pokemon Go Mons as separate, and I guess Pokemon Home technically does this too, but I will mention Pokemon Go differences where applicable. And hey, if you yourself count Pokemon Go towards your main list, then fair enough. There's no wrong way to play Pokemon, and people can enjoy it however they like. Let's start the list of shiny Pokemon you can't get with your name as the original trainer off with none other than Pikachu, or more specifically, Partner Cat Pikachu. Partner Cat Pikachu is the only one of the 8 available Cat Pikachu in the mainline games that is available as a shiny and can still be redeemed via QR code in Ultra Sun or Ultra Moon. Upon scanning the code relevant to your region using your 3DS, players can receive the Pikachu from a delivery man in Pikachu Valley on Akala Islands. Now, this Pikachu was never meant to be shiny, but due to a coding error, which you can read up on here, for most players, it was and still is shiny huntable. Most save files can soft reset for the shiny, however, for 1 in 4,096, it will be shiny locked. The other catch being for those who hunt this Pikachu, its model can never be shiny. And the only way you could tell if it's shiny is by seeing the red shiny star in its summary screen. I managed to find my shiny Partner Cat Pikachu by hunting across 2 games. As seen here, it took 7,804 resets, nearly 2 times over odds. I was getting nervous. If you want to know more about this shiny, I've also done a video testing it in Scarlet and Violet here to see if its shiny model sparkles or not. Sadly though, for this Pikachu, its original trainer name is Ash, as is the case for every Cat Pikachu. Will Game Freak ever re-release these Pikachu with your name as the original trainer? Probably not. Will they ever be given out as a shiny officially? I have no hope for this, which is why I keep my Pikachu in their own box in Pokemon Home for now, rather than in National Dex order like the rest of my collection. Next up are the legendary regional variants of the Gen 1 birds, Galarian, Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres. These 3 birds were introduced to us in Sword and Shield's Crown Tundra DLC, which came out nearly 5 years ago now, Jesus. You could catch all three across Galar, the Isle of Armor, and the Crown Tundra, but sadly, these encounters are coded to be shiny locked. It wasn't until early 2022 that players were given the opportunity to get their hands on the three shinies by taking part in online battles in Sword and Shield, specifically the international challenges during February, March, and April that year. Players who registered and participated in at least 3 matches during each month's competition were able to redeem the birds via mystery gift. But sadly, the event Pokemon players received were just that, event Pokemon, with Articuno's trainer name being Crown, Zapdos's being Wild, and Moltres' being Armor, all a reference to the locations you could catch the non-shinies in-game, and each of their ID numbers, the dates their respective events began on. We've since had all 3 shinies released in Pokemon Go, and if you were to transfer a Mon from there into Pokemon Home, you would get the shiny with your name as the original trainer. But in terms of Pokemon originating from a mainline game, players are still waiting. Next up is the only Generation 3 Pokemon you can't get with your name at all as the original trainer, and one that is dear to my heart, Shiny Jirachi. Now, Shiny Jirachi is possible to receive in Pokemon Ruby or Sapphire only, and your options change depending on your region. If you're in the US, you can transfer a Jirachi from the Pokemon Coliseum bonus disc on the GameCube to your copy of Ruby or Sapphire and have a 1 in 7,281.7 chance of it being shiny. If you're in Europe or Australia, however, like I am, you can transfer a Jirachi from Pokemon Channel on the GameCube to your copy of Ruby or Sapphire and have a full odds 1 in 8,192 chance of it being shiny. Now, I've covered Shiny Jirachi extensively on my YouTube channel and have, in my unbiased opinion, the best guide on YouTube here to those who want to hunt it. Myself obtaining my own Shiny Jirachi on my Twitch stream in March 2024. Yeah! What? No way! Now, as excited as I was in obtaining the Shiny Jirachi, again, its trainer ID was not my own, with the Channel Jirachi's original trainer name being Channel, and the Coliseum bonus discs being a Wishmaker for those who receive it from there. If we're ever able to shiny hunt it on our own, I'm a little torn, because yes, I would love one with my name as the original trainer, but at the same time, this was such an incredible moment I achieved with Twitch chat that I have grown a little attached to it. I guess I'll cross that bridge if I ever come to it. And no, I haven't forgotten about the Shiny Jirachi from Pokemon Go, which became available through Masterwork research in 2023's Hoenn Tour. My Shiny Jirachi in Go had terrible stats, by the way, unlike my very lucky Shiny Go Mew, which was and still is my only perfect shiny, or Shundo. Shinies 6 and 7 on this list are Keldeo, due to both forms being boxable. Shiny Keldeo's ordinary form became available as a home reward as of February 2025 for those who completed their home dexes for Galar, the Isle of Armor, and the Crown Tundra. Now, I've covered this in a previous video, but if you want 2 Keldeo to then be able to change one into its Resolute form by teaching it the move Secret Sword, then you're going to have a whole other Nintendo and Pokemon Home account to redeem it on. Now, the original trainer name for this Keldeo is Home, as are several others on this list, and I doubt we'll be able to shiny hunt them with our name as the original trainer for a while. Also note, the Keldeo you can catch in Sword and Shield's Crown Tundra is shiny locked, but hey, at least it's yours. And at the time of this recording, Shiny Keldeo is not available in Pokemon Go. Shiny 8 is Meloetta, which was the first of the home Pokedex events to be distributed starting in late 2024 for players who completed their home dexes for Paldea, Kitakami, and the Blueberry Academy. We only need to count the standard Aria form for Meloetta towards our list, as its Pirouette form only appears during battle and is therefore not boxable. Like Keldeo, the trainer name is Home, and we'll likely have to continue waiting to be able to hunt it ourselves. The Meloetta you can catch yourself in the Blueberry Academy in Scarlet and Violet is, like Keldeo, sadly shiny locked. And at the time of this recording, Shiny Meloetta was the most recent shiny mythical added to Pokemon Go via the Unova Tour's Masterwork research. Shiny number 9 on our list is Genesect. While the shiny has been possible to get in Pokemon Go since 2020, in terms of mainline games, this shiny was only ever released once in Japan back in 2013 in cinemas screening the 16th Pokemon movie, as well as South Korea in 2014. Both had an original trainer name which each translates to cinema. Again, the same video I mentioned earlier that shows you how to get your own OT Victini will also show you how you can obtain a Japanese shiny Genesect right now on DS or your phone and then transfer it into Pokemon Home. So for me, this shiny Genesect is just a placeholder until I can shiny hunt one for myself with my own name from the mainline games. If that opportunity does come, I will definitely be trading this one away, as I'll have no further need for it. The same can be said for shiny number 10 on our list, Diancie, which had a brief mainline game shiny event at Pokemon centers and stores in Japan in 2015, as well as an in-person event in South Korea in 2016. Like Shiny Genesect, this event, Shiny Diancie Ione, is just a placeholder. So as soon as I can swap this placeholder out for my own original trainer name, I will. And at the time of this recording, Shiny Diancie isn't available in Pokemon Go as of yet. Shiny number 11 on this list is Zeraora, which was the first ever Shiny distributed through Pokemon Home in mid-2020. At the time, Zeraora and Shiny Zeraora appeared in Sword and Shield Max Raid battles in June that year, following the release of the first DLC, the Isle of Armor. They weren't catchable, but the deal was that if at least 1 million trainers managed to complete the raids, then Shiny Zeraora would be given to them. Pokemon Home was relatively new at the time, so to boost downloads and visibility, Game Freak made it so the Shiny Zeraora could only be received from the mobile version of Pokemon Home. It would be nice to shiny hunt Zeraora for ourselves soon, so I hope maybe we'll see it in Legends ZA. Shinies 12 and 13 on our list are Zacian and Zamazenta. The ones you catch naturally in Sword and Shield when those games came out in 2019 are Shiny Locked, and it wasn't until almost 2 years later in late 2021 until their Shiny versions were given out via serial code. Depending on where you lived in the world, you could go to certain stores to pick up your code, some also sending the codes out online. Shiny Zacian was obtainable in Shield, which is the opposite game it can normally be caught in, and the same goes for Shiny Zamazenta, obtainable in Sword. The original trainer name for the Shiny Zacian is Lancer, a nod to Sir Lancelot, while the Shiny Zamazenta's original trainer name is Arthur, a reference to King Arthur. Both of their ID numbers are the same, reflecting the date of the event. Both Shinies have been obtainable in Pokemon Go as of late 2024, but in terms of mainline games, we're still waiting. Number 14 on this list is Shiny Eternatus, which was obtainable in Sword and Shield the exact same way as the previous two legendaries, just 1 year on in late 2022. For this event, it didn't matter what version of the game you had. The Shiny's trainer name is simply Galar, and the ID number, like the others, reflects the date of the event. And at the time of this recording, Shiny Eternatus is not available in Pokemon Go. Next is another Shiny Pokemon you can claim from completing a Pokedex in Pokemon Home, Shiny Enamorus. And since it has two boxable forms, like Keldeo, we're counting both. Shiny Enamorus you can get by completing the Pokemon Home Dex for Pokemon Legends Arceus, and also, like Shiny Keldeo, you'll need a whole other Nintendo and Pokemon Home account to redeem it on. And like the other Pokemon Home gifts, its original trainer name is Home. And at the time of this recording, Shiny Enamorus can't be obtained yet in Pokemon Go. Now, of the 7 Pokemon who've had their Shiny Locks removed between July 2025 and October 2025, 6 of them you can't get with your name as the original trainer name. The 4 Treasures of Ruin Pokemon appeared as Shinies in their own respective Terra Raid battles in Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet from late July to mid-September 2025, with the Shinies being made available shortly after each event ended, as long as the total number of victories achieved by all participating trainers in each raid collectively met or exceeded 1 million before the conclusion of each Pokemon's event period, similar to the Zeraora events. Spoilers, this target was met for each raid, and even if players didn't participate, they could still redeem all 4 of these Shinies via mystery gift in-game up until Tuesday, September 30, 2025 at 4:59 PM Pacific Daylight Saving Time. Sadly though, the original trainer names for all 4 of these Pokemon are Paldea, with the ID number being the date the Shiny was first made available. Will we get a chance to hunt these on our own in the future? I don't think we will for a long time, sadly, but let's be honest, probably in Pokemon Go. And finally, to round out this list are Shiny Koraidon and Shiny Miraidon. Now, at the time of posting this video, these Pokemon are still redeemable until mid-October, but I'll speak in past tense for consistency, as this will age very quickly. Now, these Shiny Pokemon were initially announced as an in-person event at GameStop in the US and EB Games in Australia, New Zealand, and Canada. More locations were announced as I was editing this video, so have a search online to see if you live in a participating country. Now, for those in the correct countries, players could walk into their respective stores and grab a physical code that would allow them to redeem a Shiny Miraidon in Scarlet or a Shiny Koraidon in Violet. Now, unlike Sword and Shield's physical distribution, which gave you a specific code for Sword or a specific code for Shield, this Scarlet and Violet distribution gave you a one-time code that you could only use in one game of your choice. So if you wanted both, you needed to get 2 codes. Again, while these are cool Pokemon to finally own, the original trainer name for both Pokemon was again Paldea, with the ID number for both the same, again representing the date of the event. Will we be able to hunt these for ourselves one day? Only time will tell. And that's it. There are currently 22 Pokemon in the entire National Shiny Dex that you can obtain as a Shiny, but not with your name as its original trainer. Literally half of these have been added since October 2024, 5 of which from completing Pokemon Home Pokedexes, and 6 of which were given out in Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet. It In terms of the non-shinies you currently can't get with your name as the original trainer, these include the following, all of which have only ever been event distributions. The other 7 Cat Pikachu, Genesect, Ash Greninja, Pokeball Pattern Vivian, Diancie, both forms of Hooper, Volcanion, Zeraora, Marshadow, G-Max Melmetal, both forms of Zarude, and technically roaming form Gimmighoul, as it's exclusively from Pokemon Go. Do you think that this is a good thing at least, that Game Freak is making more shiny Pokemon available in the way that they're doing, or would you prefer to hunt these yourself? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for joining me and going through this updated list. I'll make another one in the future once more shinies are removed.
And hey, if you're new to this YouTube channel and want to see more, feel free to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I got a lot of Legends ZA content on the way, so stay tuned if you want to see that.
My name's highly Instagram, but you can call me Matt, and as always, may all your shiny hunts be quick. Take care.